Hello, this is F. Welcome to episode 28 of my Ottoman Empire campaign. Last episode, we captured Breslau and handed the city and surrounding region to our Prussian allies, strengthening the central theatre and helping them to resist the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Today, the Central Army marches east towards Warsaw and seizes Łódź en route. On the western front, the Bavarians launch a fresh assault on Vienna, but the defenders valiantly repelled them. Meanwhile, the newly named Northern Army is marching north to join the Central Army and begin the siege of Warsaw. The campaign is tightening into a decisive phase. Supply lines, timing and coordination will decide whether we can turn these gains into a lasting advantage for the Sultan. Let's get into it. Okay, so in this episode I think we all continue to harass the Italian states, just keep them on their toes, and whatever income we can deny them, that should reduce the ability for them to replace their armies. And we'll get our scholar sent down towards Kozani, and again, as you can see, there's another Bavarian army nearing the gates of Vienna, and again they continue to raid our territory. I think we have enough forces to repel them, but we'll have to keep an eye on them in the coming turns. I think with this Polish force here, now that we've given Breslau to the Prussians, we'll just launch a quick attack and just remove them. Okay, we still lost a good chunk of men, 260 men, so that's not ideal. But we killed most of their units, so that's not too bad. So they fleeing out. Let's get our replenishment back for the Central Army. And if we go to Łódź, we will get them to capture the city, the town, and we'll start moving towards Warsaw to put pressure on the Polish. So we are nearing the time for an attack on Warsaw and completing another objective of ours that will leave only Isfahan and Morocco and Madrid, I think, as our key next cities to capture. We'll just need to keep an eye on the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and Courland, just in case they send troops through the forests to attack Lwów or Kiev. But I think with our forces that we have in play, we should be able to hold them off for the time being. And if need be, we can move our Central Army, the Northern Army, newly named Northern Army, we can move them up to Kiev if we need to defend the city. Just get additional cannon unit here just to prep our force to take out the Russians. But I think everywhere else we're just looking at developing economic structures and potentially any military structures that we can. But again, cash flow is running low once again, so we'll just do what we can and then probably look to end the turn. We are making steady progress in terms of our technology. Got a few more turns to go before we have European doctrine, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that. I think, as we can see, there's about 7 turns left for European doctrine to be completed. So as soon as we have that done, we can start moving towards getting the Nazim-e Sadit out, which will be amazing. So I definitely can't wait to get hold of them and get them into play. So we've ended the turn, and let's see what transpires with this turn. I half expected the Bavarians, the Bavarians to attack us. So what do they have? Let's see, 2, 4, 6. They've got 6 line infantry, a couple of cannons, a couple of hussars, general's bodyguard and regiment of horse. So I think they're not a major threat to us, although it shows the balance of power is close to 50-50. We do have a Prussian general unit or cavalry unit that will join us, but I don't doubt he's going to have much of an impact on the battlefield. But I think looking at those troops that the Bavarians have, 6 line infantry, they are decent stats usually, but I think with our 4 units of Samat Janissaries and Bilac Janissaries, we have 5 units of the Bilac Janissaries, I don't think we'll have any problems repelling this attack. Our unit should benefit from a morale boost with the fortification, so I'm optimistic that we shouldn't take too many casualties with this battle, and hopefully we can take out the the Bavarian line as soon as we are able. So at the start of this, our units have the ability to add some deployable defences. So my thinking was that in case we do get a breach in the walls by the cannons, we can at least have some deployable defences in place just to reduce our casualties in case the enemy decided to send their forces through the breach in the walls. So again, we're just manoeuvring our forces up to the top ramparts of the fort, just in preparation for the enemy forces should they arrive. Now looking at the minimap, we can see the Prussian cavalry unit looks like they're heading headlong into a nearby enemy detachment, so I don't think they're going to last very long, which is unfortunate, and it would have been good to get a Prussian army to aid us in this battle or in future battles, so we'll have to see how that works, but I don't think that general unit will last very long at all. I think in a future campaign it would be good to have some allied forces joining in on the battle, having that extra army just to make it that little bit more epic. The enemy general is dead, so that was not useful at all. Suicide run, it seems like. And we also have our unit of reinforcing janissary, or Samat janissaries. They are en route to the centre of the fort, so they should make it hopefully in time before any enemy units can try and take them out. But just taking stock of where we are currently in the campaign. So we've secured most of the Balkans and Central Europe in terms of Austria, Hungary, Venice. We've got Lwów in Poland, and we're looking to head towards besieging and capturing the city of Warsaw. That's the last major objective we have in Central Europe. We'll need to look at diverting the newly named Northern Army, probably back to Lwów or Kiev, just to defend against any Russian incursions. And then in the Middle East we need to start creating our new Eastern Army that can at least put pressure on the Persian Empire and capture Isfahan and potentially even Azerbaijan as well if need be. And then the last remaining objectives we have is to capture Morocco and Madrid in Spain. But I think that will be a bit more challenging. We need to also think about capturing the Barbary states just to make sure that we have a contiguous empire between Ankara and Rabat, I think it is, or Tangiers I think, in Morocco, just so we have that contiguous empire and all that trade connections and trade routes going from across North Africa, and then capturing both Gibraltar and Madrid most likely. Now we can look at the New Worlds potentially, but as that's our main objective, I think for this campaign we'll just focus on achieving that short-term objective and winning the campaign. And also with our army, our Eastern Army in Isfahan, we'll have to keep an eye on the Maratha Confederacy, because at some point they will probably launch an attack against either Isfahan directly or try and hit Baghdad. And yeah, so we just need to keep an eye on them. I mean, there is a potentiality of them coming through the Straits of Gibraltar and trying to take territories within the Mediterranean. So again, holding Morocco and Gibraltar will be very key for us in securing that pathway to prevent any Maratha forces heading into the Mediterranean. So going back to the battle, so we can see that the Bavarians have now launched their attack on the fort. We got them in a couple of places, I believe, trying to scale the wall. And we have our Phylock armed citizenry engaged currently in battle with the enemy forces. I think the first engagement has been repelled. Yep, they are fleeing at the moment, and we just need to get our units back into place so they can get those cannons firing. That will be most ideal. I believe the enemy do have 2 lots of cannons, so yeah, we just need to keep an eye on the cannons, make sure they don't take down any of the walls while our units are still there and cause a loads of deaths to our forces. So we can see some Bavarians are climbing up the wall on this part of the fort as well. But I think for the most part they're being repelled relatively easily. And what will likely happen is we'll most likely need to send out our forces to attack those cannons. And it's a shame we don't have any cavalry at this point, but come on guys, what are you doing? You're not even doing anything. You're not even firing the cannons or shooting or anything. And that's our smart reinforcements, so they coming into the fray. Let's see if we can speed them up a little bit. I think as long as our units are not losing too many forces, that should be fine. We can see another unit of smart janissaries are also engaged with the enemy at this point in time. So yeah, we just keep an eye on wherever we have incursions with the Bavarians and look to take them out promptly. We're going to send another unit of smart janissaries in, and I think overall our units are benefiting from that morale boost. But I think, yeah, let's send our forces in. Are they going to come in? Are they going to start opening fire? Let's have a look. Bavarians are being pushed back. Oh man, they're not even doing anything. We're getting our smart janissaries to come in. I think, yeah, these guys aren't even doing anything. I think they're taking some pot shots, but I don't hear actual gunfire. I don't know if they are firing. Let's just send them in. Just send them into melee combat and just support those janissaries. Okay, looks like our firelock armed citizenry have, or our armed populace have repelled the attack. That's good. They potentially had some support with the janissaries as well. So yep, the units are fleeing now. Bavarian line infantry. So again, it just shows you the European line are generally superior in terms of many of their stats. They remain no match for the armies of the Sultan. So we'll just reposition our forces just to make sure that no additional line infantry do scale the walls. But I think as we start nearing the end of the campaign, you know, I think there's probably about another 10 videos or so, 10-15 videos before we maybe end the campaign. And depending on how quickly we do maneuver through the upcoming battles and situations that arise, I think the next campaign will likely be more of a another historical one. But I think we'll go back in time, potentially going back to like Rome 2 or potentially even Troy Total War, just to get a different atmosphere and vibe. Go back to the traditional sword, arrows, and spear units. But even saying that, the Ottoman Empire is quite gives it a unique flavour, I think, for Empire Total War, in that it gives you a wide variety of units and strategies and tactics that you can utilise that are not usually present within the European armies. So let's just have a look. So again, noticing on the siege battles, the cavalry units that aren't present by the AI seem to always glitch out. So I think we've got a couple of units of cavalry slowly marching towards the sides of the walls, or the fort walls, because they cannot break through. And again, they just march in this weird slow double trot maneuver. As you can see on the far left now, there's a cavalry unit moving forward, and on the far right as well. You can see some line infantry have decided to return. So our units will make short work of them. Janissaries firing their shots off. So again, we're just speeding up the game just to make sure that we're getting through everything as promptly as we can. And the cavalry unit still continues to make slow progress towards us. And again, we've got the Bavarians are now starting to flee the battle. Okay, so they're not a threat at all. Our armed citizenry will make short work of them, or the armed populace. We'll send in some units just to keep an eye on them as well. I think that's Bylek Janissaries going in just to support the units there. And we've got some cannon fire heading towards the enemy cavalry, but again, there's nothing serious happening there. Get our Bylek Janissaries arming those cannons. Hopefully they can take out some additional enemies as they flee the fort. So yeah, another thing to learn is just to make sure that we have a mix of units that engage in battle, even if it is defensive. Units for defending cities. Without the cavalry, we cannot harass the enemy, take down enemy units promptly, run them down as they flee. So we definitely are at a disadvantage without having cavalry in this battle. But again, we should make short work of the enemy cavalry as they near the fort. We'll be able to take pot shots at them and use the cannons as well to just whittle them down as promptly as we can. So even on double speed, the cavalry units are still moving in such a weird way. But hopefully we should start taking out some enemy units promptly in a minute or two. But it looks like for the most part the battle is pretty much over. We only have I think a couple of cannon units and then the enemy cavalry that remain in play. So we'll likely have to get our troops out and get them to head straight into the mouth of the enemy's cannons and wipe them out. Move some Janissary units down to the lower levels, and as soon as we get our cavalry, as soon as the enemy cavalry come into range, we'll attempt to get close up and take them out. So we've got a few enemy cavalries are gone in that battalion. There's about 12 units gone. Let's have a look here and see what we can what transpires. It is also raining as well, so that will affect gunfire. And on slow-mo you can see the cavalry moves at such short distances, and a few cavalry units are being taken out. Like how they glide across the screen, it's so ridiculous. Just glide across the screen. They don't normally like this. I'm sure if we had a cavalry unit out there, they would be running like normal. That cavalry unit has been... Whoa, look at that. That was a great cannon shot. Taking out a few right in the centre of the battalion, and they are fleeing. So it looks like they will be fleeing the map, and the other unit is fleeing as well. Okay, so it looks like the cavalry are now gone, and they're out of action as well. Yeah, we can see the one cavalry unit has left the map. We'll get our units down into the base of the fort just to get them out, and we'll only send a handful of our units. We won't send everyone. Just see if we can make sure that we take out the cannons as promptly as possible. And it looks like the enemy cavalry have returned. Okay, so I think what is going on with those Janissaries? That's so weird. So the cavalry units have returned. They are marching slowly back. I think they haven't fully routed, so that's fine. We'll just have to keep an eye on them when we get close enough with our forces. But I think the enemy cannons keep disappearing, or something keeps happening. But those two Janissaries, it's like they're dancing on the top of the field, top of the fort wall. Strange glitches that happen with this game. It's hilarious at times and a little bit frustrating. But let's see, can we move our forces in? I'm not too sure what the enemy cavalry are doing. They look like they are waiting in that forest, but we'll get our forces out anyway. Let's move them. I believe we'll have the armed citizenry and the firelock citizenry on the one side, and just get them out into play, and then on the back of the fort we'll be taking the two battalions of Samat Janissaries just to creep up on that enemy cannon in the distance on the far right. So again, the horse unit is doing very weird maneuvers again. It's very strange. But yeah, I mean, we pretty much won this battle. We have defended the city from attack by the Bavarians. So this is what we expected. Hopefully the overall enemy or the overall casualty count is quite low for this engagement. And with the repelling of the Bavarians, I think we do need to look at taking them out in the next turn or two. We don't want to keep them don't want to have them keep harassing the Austrian territory. I think when we originally captured the territory, we had something like 1,200 or 1,500 gold, and it's now dropped significantly down to about 500 gold, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that's just from them continuously harassing the territory, and again, myself not rebuilding due to the proximity of their armies. So I guess that will be one of the next big targets to take out, and we don't want to really hold on to that territory, but we also don't want to give it to the Prussians. So one thing I was thinking of is potentially gifting the territory to another European faction, another small faction, not Württemberg, because they I think are at war with the Prussians, and that could lead the Prussians to just capture the city anyway. Because again, we don't want to replace a strong Polish force or Polish territory with a strong Prussian territory, because that won't be ideal, because if the Prussians turn on us, then that definitely won't be to our liking whatsoever. But we're just thinking of maybe someone like maybe getting Hanover, gifting the territory to Hanover. They're allies of Britain, and we're not at war with them, and they're indifferent to us, so they could be a good one to give in the short term. But just coming back into the battle, so we've got our armed populace moving towards the cannons, and our firelock armed citizenry, as well as a unit of janissaries, just to keep those cannons distracted. And we'll wait for the opportune moment to get the cannons to fire off, and then we'll send our troops in. I can see that the cavalry unit has moved towards the cannons on the far right flank, so they won't be a threat to us, and we're just sending our troops in now. That cannon shot went off, but I don't think it significantly killed anyone dramatically. There's no dead bodies on the floor, so that's fine. So we've taken out that cannon unit, and I think we'll move our forces now to go and alleviate the janissaries that are marching towards the secondary cannon unit. So our units seem to have stopped their crazy manoeuvres now that the enemy cannons are gone. And it looks like there's no further impact on our walls either, in terms of getting the cannons, in terms of the cannons destroying our fort walls. So we're just going to move some Bielek janissaries out, just to give some additional firepower against enemy cavalry. And we'll just manoeuvre our janissaries around just to keep those cannons distracted and preoccupied, and hopefully they won't be getting any pot shots directly at our units and giving us loads of casualties. So as our forces just manoeuvre into position, this is a bit of a slow down in the battle, but with that initial force repelled, it's been really useful. And as you can see, our forces benefit from the ropes that have been attached to the sides of the fort by using them as a method to get down, so they don't need to always rely on going down the ramparts, which is very useful as well. Okay, so we're just waiting for our forces to get into position and just get them to come down from the battlements. You can see that the enemy cavalry unit has moved away from the cannon, and okay, we have sped up, but we need to slow this down because they are heading straight for us. Okay, we've got our janissaries behind there. Okay, it looks like they are retreating. We have some gunfire, I believe, might have gone off from our firelock citizenry. Nope, they're coming back. Okay, we've got some gunfire going off. No cavalry seem to have been taken down. We'll send our armed populace in as well, and we'll send our janissaries marching in. And that, oh my god, those guys got knocked over. He's got knocked over, he's going to get back up. No, he's died. He was knocked over and then died. Oh my god. In the bottom left around corner, that poor bastard. Oh dear. So he got taken out. He decided, nope, I'm not getting up anymore. This cavalry unit is too close. So our Bielek janissaries are getting into position, and we have 3 units taking out those cavalry, or the cavalry that have turned up. Looks like the enemy cavalry is now fleeing from the battlefield, so that's a good sign. We've sped it up a little bit. We'll need to move our forces promptly. I think what we might look to do is take out that general unit as well, and we're just going to get our janissaries to run in. I know it's a silly manoeuvre, and we'll probably lose a lot of units if we get the wrong volley hitting us and the timing's all off. Enemy cavalry, the general bodyguard, are running towards our units. Can we take them out? Okay, we have got the thing sped up, so we are focusing on the enemy general at this point in time. And where are you going? Come on guys, get to the back of them and hold them in place. Okay, the enemy cannons are focusing on our janissaries, and the enemy general is gone. And it's a decisive victory. So that is the end of the battle. So we lost less than I was expecting, so 215 men in all, so that's not bad going considering the engagement that we had, and we were using our firelock armed citizenry and the armed populace for many of the engagements. So they are the ones that have seen the most damage to those units, which again is not a problem at all for us. You can see only a fraction of the Bavarian forces remain, so that's quite good. And when this turn ends, we can see what the damage is, or what at least our next moves are. So we've got an additional imam in that northern Russian territory, Astrakhan. So we'll move that imam south towards Don Vosco. And again, we're just getting our forces ready to attack that Russian force. So we've sent Yusuf in just to keep an eye on the Russian army. We have additional units recruited and some infrastructure completed. So yeah, overall it's not been a bad session. We will need to look to eventually upgrade Don Vosco's governor barracks and do any additional upgrades to our remaining territories. I guess with the campaign coming to an end, the not too distant future, well before I believe 1740, we won't have our buildings maxed out at all. But again, as you can see, we'll continue to harass the Italian states, and then we'll just replenish the forces in Vienna in case there's another attack from the Bavarians. So we'll look to move the Northern Army up and besiege Warsaw. That should keep the army within Warsaw from attacking us, and we'll just send the Central Army just to mop up those additional units that are just sticking outside of Warsaw, just to hold them, just to get rid of them at least. So we'll just do a quick auto-resolve of the battle. Again, lost 250 men. We lost more men in the auto-resolve than we did in the actual engagement defending Vienna. This is ridiculous. Got to stop doing auto-resolve. We just lose so many men. I mean, it's good for the coffers in the short term, but we do need those troops. And we'll use the Central Army to besiege Warsaw, and we'll just besiege them for a while longer, probably another turn or two while our units replenish. Just want to get them to be as effective as possible. Now, I think the Prussians currently hold the 4 regions under their belts, so that should help us going forwards. And again, just looking at the rest of the empire, there's not much happening. We just do a few upgrades where possible with this small amount of income that we have. I think, let's just see if we can have a look. Can we request peace from Bavaria? Nope, they do not want peace. How about Italian states? If we can get peace with the Italian states, that can help us divert our forces up north towards Bavaria, but we can see Courland is not interested whatsoever. And the Italian states have signed a peace treaty. Okay, I think we should take the Western Army now and move it north towards Bavaria then, while this territory or this region is no longer under threat. So if that's the case, I think next turn we could look to try and take out the Bavarians, and then, as I suggested, maybe gift it to Hanover. Württemberg already have 2 regions, so I think Hanover will be our best bet at this stage in the campaign. Therefore, we'll end the video here. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments on the progression of the Ottoman Empire thus far, and anything you may have done differently. This is Zeph, signing out. Goodbye.